now.
A woman in Lone Oak says a nursing home is abusing her mother, and she has the pictures to prove it. Good evening, I'm Kevin Kelly. Thanks for joining us. Fox 16's Isabella Moeller spoke with the woman and saw the pictures as well. She joins us live with a closer look at the allegations. Isabella?
The pictures are those that you would never want to see of a loved one. Bruises, scratches, and black eyes are all what Judy Gray says the Red Oak nursing home has given to her mother rather than the care that she deserves.
This is my mama.
Behind the walls of Red Oak Healthcare and Rehab in Lone Oak, Judy Gray says employees are abusing her mother.
Black eyes, bruises on her hands, scratches on her back.
Dating back to December, Gray claims her mother has had different marks on her body.
That's another place on her neck.
And attributes them to CNAs working with her mother. Judy takes pictures each day like these, documenting each mark that shows up.
They tell me they're going to do something about the problem, and they never do.
According to Medicare.gov, Red Oak is rated 1 star out of 5, which is the worst rating a nursing home can get. Martha Dever, president of Arkansas Advocates for Nursing Home Residents, says she's received numerous complaints over the last year for the nursing home. We tried to speak with administrators at Red Oak, and this is what happened.
Administrators said you're not allowed in this building, and you're not allowed in this property. Administrators said that.
Is there a manager here that I can speak with?
The administrator said, just told me to tell you, you are not allowed on this property at all. You must leave now. The police will be called.
Gray has since filed a police report and is hoping for change soon.
DHS, I called the Attorney General's office, and they are going to investigate. Yesterday, I made a police report on all the bruises.
I spoke with the Lone Oak Police Department today, and they tell me they will begin reviewing the pictures that Judy has since passed over and consider this an open investigation. Back to you.
It certainly appears to be a serious allegation, and if true, I would think some change is needed, but that will all come out in this investigation. Any idea how long that might take, though?
I've been told that it could take up to 10 days, and depending on how serious what they find in there, it could take almost 10 days until we find out more information.
And in the meantime, she's just going to watch her mom closely.
Exactly.
All right, keep us posted. Thanks.
Now, weather to plan your day with Fox 16 Chief Meteorologist Jeff Baskin.
Well, feeling like summer again today. High temperatures back up into the mid-90s, 95 around Hot Springs, 95 Little Rock, upper 90s south, 97 around Arkadelphia, and a scorching 97 around Camden. Temperatures running a good 10 degrees above average compared to normal for this time of year. Across northern Arkansas, not quite as hot, upper 80s, near 90 degrees, but still quite warm. Right now, we're down into the 70s and low 80s. Those evenings that we could open up the windows once the sun went down, let in the cool air, well, those are gone, at least for now, with temperatures still in the 80s as of 9 o'clock, 85 right now in Hot Springs, 82 in Little Rock. Otherwise, temperatures mainly in the 70s this evening. That southerly flow has brought in some Gulf air, which is slower to cool down with that higher humidity. Mainly clear skies across the area for this evening. Don't have anything going on, and it's going to stay mainly clear as we go through the overnight hours. Taking a look at our forecast satellite and radar. Mainly sunny skies for the morning hours as we start off your work week. Going into the afternoon, lots of sunshine, another hot day. But notice as we go into the evening hours, a few thunderstorms across parts of Missouri, back into Oklahoma, approaching northwest Arkansas. Staying dry for the evening hours across central Arkansas, but those showers associated with the cold front, that's going to bring a change as we go through the weekend. We'll talk more about that coming up in your 7-day forecast in a few minutes. But taking a look at your forecast for tomorrow morning, mainly sunny skies, warming up quick. We're talking about 90-degree heat by about noon. That 7-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
And a Fox 16 crime alert. A judge sets a $1 million bond for the man accused of hitting 2 women while running from police. Jordan Vandenberg is charged with first-degree murder, first-degree battery, fleeing, theft of property, as well as theft by receiving. Police say the suspect lost control of his SUV Tuesday night, hitting 39-year-old Trendia Horton and her daughter Natalie, who were out for a walk along Chico Road. I should point out that that SUV was stolen, according to police. The mom died in the accident. We're told Natalie is in a medically induced coma tonight after having surgery. The second oldest home in Hot Springs catches fire hours before it was supposed to go up for auction. Take a look at this video. It was shared on social media last night, and it shows just how intense the fire got at the home along the 400 block of Spring Street. The fire department says they got the call at 11:30 and had it out in an hour, but were forced to knock it all down for safety reasons.
The whole purpose for this auction was to find someone who was interested in restoring the house and bringing it back up to a place of honor and integrity for the city of Hot Springs and for the residents in this area.
The owners say the home was not insured. The auction was canceled. It's now the owner's responsibility to demolish the home and will only be able to sell the land. The assessor's office had the home valued at more than $140,000, the land around $6,000. A judge rules Jermaine Taylor will not be let out of jail to attend his mother's funeral. Taylor is in the Pulaski County Jail and has been since May. He's facing second-degree battery charges. His mom died last week, and according to Taylor's attorney, the former boxer will not be allowed to attend the service or visit the cemetery. Judge Leon Johnson did rule that he can go to the funeral home for a supervised visit with the family's pastor before the funeral. It's a story we first brought you last night. A College Station daycare hit with 25 regulation violations within the last year. Fox 16's Stephanie Sharp takes a closer look at how DHS records the infractions and then what happens after they get them. Stephanie.
Yeah, Kevin, the violations against Love and Care Daycare range from bottles or sippy cups not being labeled with children's names or refrigerated to employees' background checks not being up to date. DHS says 40 licensing investigators randomly drop into 1,900 child care centers and 400 home centers across Arkansas. They check to see if the centers are meeting certain guidelines set by the state. If there is a problem, they get a written violation that goes on their record. They're told to fix it on the spot, or they must come up with a plan of action to fix it. DHS says it's all in an effort, of course, to keep the kids safe while the parents are away.
These folks are tasked with taking care of a very vulnerable population, little kids who can't take care of themselves. So we want to make sure those places are safe.
DHS says most daycares are, of course, willing to take steps to get into compliance. If there are any major safety issues, then they will shut down the program. If there are violations written up, DHS posts the information on its website. You can actually check it out for yourself. We posted a link on fox16.com.
Stephanie, let me ask you this. Is there a line drawn in the sand when it comes to these regulations being violated? I mean, you mentioned 25 for Love and Care. That sounds like an awful lot. At what point does DHS come in and shut them down? Well,
it's really just by a case-by-case basis, and it's the licensing investigators and DHS that does decide if there is major safety issues that continues to happen, then they will shut the place down. However, they do really work with those daycare centers to come into compliance so they can continue running. And like I said, a lot of them want to be in compliance, but if there is major safety issues, they will be shut down.
Oh, interesting. I'm also shocked that there's only 40 investigators responsible for 1,900 centers and 400 home centers across the state. They got their work cut out for them. Thanks, Stephanie. Appreciate it. Planned Parenthood in federal court fighting to keep its Medicaid contract with the state of Arkansas. The group told a judge today it believes the governor does not have the right to cut funding. But the state argued federal law gives them a right to terminate the contract of a provider even during a pending case. Planned Parenthood also argued videos alleging the organization was involved in the selling of fetal parts is not true. The state, however, says audio from the videos in question involves a Planned Parenthood employee.
This action is illegal because our understanding is that you can't actually eliminate a provider from the program. Part of the Medicaid program is that patients can choose who they want to see.
Planned Parenthood thinks it's a big fight because it affects their pocketbook, but they've had their hand in the state till for years. And now that state officials are saying, you know what? Any organization that would sell baby parts of aborted babies, we'd rather not do business with them.
The judge handling the case says she's holding off, at least for the time being, on making a ruling on whether to issue a temporary restraining order preventing the state from defunding Planned Parenthood. Still to come on Fox 16 News, a convicted sex offender claims that the justice system has injustice him. Fox 16's Marcy Manley talks with the sex offender assessment team as Fox 16 investigates. Plus this.
Law enforcement's done their work, and our job's just beginning.
Two more teens now behind bars in connection to a murder of a Conway couple. The latest on the case coming up at 9:30.
You're watching Fox 16 News at 9 with Donna Terrell, Kevin Kelly, sports with Wes Moore, and Chief Meteorologist Jeff Baskin. You're watching Fox 16 News at 9. You're watching Fox 16 News at 9. Covering Hot Springs, Bryant, Little Rock, and all of Central Arkansas.
In a Fox 16 investigation, part 2 of a Fox 16 News investigation, a convicted sex offender working as a pastor and a self-described civil rights leader proclaims he's innocent and a victim of the system. We've been following Bishop Jacob Taylor since August of 2014 when members of his congregation accused him of hiding his sex offender past and forgery. Taylor was jailed for parole violations and then later released. He now faces new charges of failing to register as a sex offender. Fox 16 investigator Marcy Manley has been in contact with Taylor over the past few months and agreed to give her a first-hand look at his sex offender assessment report. She joins us live in the studio with more. Marcy?
Kevin, these reports are typically kept confidential unless released by the offender. Taylor gave us access to his. He's a level 3 sex offender, and some of the information he gave us different from what he told police and different still than what he revealed to the sex offender assessment team. To figure out which inconsistencies we should pay attention to, we asked the experts at the sex offender assessment screening team what creates a warning light for them when they sit down with offenders to talk about their crimes and their convictions.
All sorts of sexual questions.
Sherry Flynn and her team spend a lot of time talking about sex.
Most people would never want to talk about.
Much of it deviant, most of it disturbing.
All sex offenses are heinous, and all of them are horrible.
They comb through the history of convicted sex offenders who they know will eventually live next door.
The question that we are always asking in our office is, who needs to know and why?
Arkansas sex offender assessment, unique to the natural state. It involves an in-person interview, full personal background including mental health, behavior, and criminal histories, along with tests aimed at gauging risk factors.
Before an offender ever walks through our door, we have stacks of information.
Jacob Taylor, otherwise known as Carlos Norwood, has been assessed twice. Both times he walked away a high-risk offender.
Not one that's not guilty.
Flynn can't speak to any specific offender's assessment, but there are some characteristics that cause concern across the thousands of offender files. One is the inability to take responsibility for actions and outcomes.
There's a history of being wrongly accused for everything. You know, they've never done anything wrong, and yet they continue to come into contact with the criminal justice system. That's very significant.
Taylor claims he's an innocent man who pleaded guilty in 2004 to a crime he didn't commit and has been victimized ever since.
A man that's sitting right here before you, been through a lot.
I was falsely accused of a sexual assault. 3rd degree.
But in his sex offender assessment, he admitted while a pastor he had sex with a 15-year-old female church member twice.
So you never confessed to having sex with her?
According to Flynn, another warning sign for assessors is whether an offender has changed his or her ways.
If someone has used a position of trust or authority previously to offend and they continue to seek out those positions of authority, that is certainly a red flag.
In Jacob Taylor's case, he continues to identify himself as a bishop and intends to renew his church activity, including youth ministry.
I have 2 more years left on paper for his sex offender registration.
For Flynn, failure to complete sex offender treatment is a surefire warning sign.
That's a big red flag, and it's a risk factor known to impact recidivism risk.
While untruthfulness is expected and often confronted, a polygraph is also administered to get to the truth. Failing that, a red flag as well.
And if they choose to deny, they can deny. We're not going to force them to tell the truth.
In Taylor's case, he didn't complete sex offender treatment in prison and doesn't believe he should have to report to anyone. He also failed a lie detector test twice.
My goal and my vision is to get my life back together where I can pick up where I started from.
Sherry Flynn would be the first to say not all offenders pose the same risk to reoffend.
I would encourage people to look in, what did they do? And who did they do it to?
And then, whether you choose to believe someone like Bishop Jacob Taylor,
that I am stepping up,
rests on what you know and the red flags you see for yourself. Now, Taylor will go to court in October to face a charge of failing to register as a sex offender because he didn't report his church activities to Little Rock police. According to Flynn, the state's process of assigning sex offender levels is the most thorough in the country and allows the public to more readily identify those who may be less likely to reoffend and those who pose a greater risk to those around them.
Certainly nice to know that these individuals are out there doing this type of research, raising the red flags, issuing those warning lights.
Sure.
This was just one example. The bishop maintains he's innocent, as you mentioned in your story. But there are other things that an individual, such as our viewer, can do right now if they have questions about their neighborhood and what may or may not be around.
Right, and while those assessments are confidential unless an offender releases them, there is a lot of information available out there that can be sort of aha moments for people who are wondering who's living next door. We typed in your zip code onto the sex offender registry search just to see what we got. And you'll notice that level 2, level 3, and level 4 offenders, what does that mean? Okay, so a level 2 is a moderate risk, level 3 is a high risk, and level 4, sexually dangerous person. Those are all sex crimes are heinous. These are a different category unto themselves. So for instance, let's choose B, this individual, and it's going to tell you right off what his name is, the block that he lives in. You already know his risk level is a 3, so that is either he defaulted to that because he didn't complete the assessment, or he's like Jacob Taylor and that's what he was given. Now you can also see further details, and this is really where you should be able, if it were cooperating, there we go, just a little bit. But this is going to give you more information regarding what he was accused of, what his offenses were, and some of these are very detailed. And so you just want to click through those. You don't want to assume that all sex offenders are created equal, if you will. Some are going to have child victims, others are going to have adult victims, and we do know, at least research shows, according to Flynn, that those people that do have these child sex offense convictions are more likely to reoffend, and so that is a red flag in and of itself.
And just so we're clear for you at home, this is all public record. You can access this right now if you want, just so we know. And we'll put a link to this specific website so you at home can check on our website, fox16.com. But great information, great reporting, and we appreciate all you've been doing.
You want to be responsible with this information.
Absolutely.
One of the things that you want to keep in mind is these people need to have pro-social lives, and so that's being part of the community. So you don't want to ostracize them, but you want to be careful.
Aware of them too.
Absolutely.
Thanks. And if you have a story that you believe needs to be investigated, I want you to write this number down right now, 501-340-4448. Fox 16 investigates. You can also email Marcy at investigations@fox16.com.
Now, Fox 16 Sports with Wes Moore, powered by North Point Cars.
The Razorbacks defense faces another tough test Saturday. The Red Raiders lead the Big 12 in offense, and their quarterback is second in the nation in passing. Andre Tolliver figures to see a lot of action. Tolliver is a cornerback and plays in the slot. Texas Tech goes with 4 or 5 wide receivers a lot, so Tolliver will play a lot. Tolliver has Arkansas's lone interception this season, and he's looking forward to Saturday.
It's just something about Texas. I got a pick Texas Tech game. I got hit in the eye Texas A&M game, and I got another pick Texas Longhorns game. So it's just something about Texas, man.
You got another pick in you against these guys?
Possible. They throw the ball a lot, and they like to attack the slots, and I'm in the slot, so I just got to man up and do what I can.
Need a big game from Andre. We are gearing up for our huge night of Fearless Friday. We're planning to get highlights of 23 games. One of the biggest is Warren at Pulaski Academy. Fox 16's Chase Shannon has a preview.
The Battle of Arkansas heavyweights Friday night at Joe B. Hatcher Stadium, where the defending Class 5A champs will host the defending Class 4A champs.
It's a tough challenge for our kids. We're excited about the opportunity. Anytime you get to go take on a quality opponent like Pulaski Academy, you can't do nothing but get better.
The Bruins are unreal. These guys have already made a bit of history this season, going to Texas and snapping a school's 84-game home winning streak. As conference play looms, head coach Kevin Kelly is glad to tune up against some of the region's best.
We're in the end of the year in the postseason,
we can fall back on these non-conference games and go, God, we went through murderer's row there. We went through a really tough schedule, and we've got to do the same thing in the postseason to get to that championship game. So we think it prepares us so well, and we're so grateful that Coach Embry would play us this week.
Same goes for the Lumberjacks. They've won their first 2 contests against quality opponents, landing them at number 15 in this week's Fearless rankings.
Hopefully what it does for us is we find our weaknesses. What we might find later in the year, we'll find earlier in the year, and hopefully can correct it before we get into conference season and then playoff time.
The two have met in each of the last 3 seasons. PA has won all 3 by an average of 24 points. Despite traveling into hostile territory, though, the Lumberjacks aren't fazed.
Our guys love playing football. We'll play hard. We've not had very much luck against Pulaski Academy the last few yeyears, and hopefully tomorrow night we can keep it close and just see what happens.
Reporting in Warren and Little Rock, I'm Chase Shannon, Fox 16 Sports.
PA quarterback Lane Hatcher was honored as the Player of the Week at the Little Rock Touchdown Club today. Former Heisman Trophy winner and NFL Hall of Famer Tim Brown was the guest speaker. Brown talked about his rise from humble beginnings in Dallas to becoming a star for the Oakland Raiders. He also discussed Razorback football, giving his 2 cents on their game Saturday against Texas Tech.
When your team lose, especially unexpectedly, it can be tough. But I know Brett Bellarmine very well. I had the chance to cover him when I was working with ESPN, and I'm sure he'll have the team ready. It's a tough task this week. Texas Tech is going to come in throwing the ball all around the place, but I'm sure Brett will have the team back and ready to go. I don't really think he has a choice. I mean, I think he better get the team up and going.
The Cowboys began the season with a win over one NFC East foe. Sunday, they'll try to start the year 2-0 with a big game against another rival. Babe Laufenberg has more in tonight's Inside Slant.
Hello everyone, I'm Babe Laufenberg with this week's Inside Slant. The Cowboys will travel to Philadelphia to face some friendly faces. Former teammates Miles Austin and DeMarco Murray, and some not so friendly faces, mainly the Philadelphia Eagles fans. I was there in 1989 during the infamous snowball game. It had snowed the night before. Fans packed up their snowballs with batteries and everything they could find, trying to rain down snowballs on Jimmy Johnson. Only problem was I was the signal caller at that time for Troy Aikman. So I got hit by some of the snowballs intended for Jimmy. Tried to stay as far away from him as possible, but we only had 6 feet of cord. Now, there won't be any snow this Sunday in Philadelphia, but Jason Garrett knows those fans will still be fired up.
The fans are very passionate there. I think anybody who's ever played or coached there understands that. And we've been going there for a long time, and they love their team.
When the Cowboys team buses pull into Lincoln Financial Field this Sunday, they'll be greeted by 2 things. Number 1, eggs being thrown at the bus, and number 2, a 1-finger salute generated by the Philadelphia fans. I asked Cowboys tight end Jason Witten just how many of those 1-finger salutes do you think you'll see? He said, way more than 50. With your Cowboys Inside Slant, I'm Babe Laufenberg, inside Valley Ranch.
It's always intense when the Cowboys and the Eagles get together, and you can watch the game Sunday at 3:15 right here on Fox 16.
I think the Cowboys got it this time.
DeMarco Murray's going to be fired up. Of course, the Cowboys are fired up to play him, and they've said all week, this isn't about DeMarco Murray. It's about 2 teams playing each other. But Cowboys without Dez, it's a big test for Tony Romo and those guys to see if they can score points without one of the best wide receivers.
DeMarco only got, 8 yards, 9 carries?
8 for 9. Cowboys trying to do even a little better than that.
Piece of cake. We'll take a quick break and be right back.